So with more on the Facebook fallout, we are joined now by Jennifer Greigel, who is an assistant professor of communications at Syracuse University's Newhouse School of Public Communications. So Jennifer, you have said you'd love to see him testify before Congress. If you were sitting there, you're one of the lawmakers, what would you be asking him?
You know, I would be asking him, why, Mark? Why haven't you done more to date? I think when we saw the CNN interview, I, like probably most Americans out there, were like, why haven't you done more? They were saying they were going to launch tools. Why wasn't that done years ago?
Right.
And I hear them when they say, hey, we want to get out in front of this. But we can't just trust them anymore. We need them to have some oversight, and I hope that's what the lawmakers are really looking into right now.
Well, some of the tech CEOs, including Aaron Levy of Box HQ and Zuckerberg himself, have said that they're interested in hearing what those regulations would look like.
Right.
What do you think that they would look like?
Sure. So I think we need to look at broadcast and TV regulations as a model. That's kind of the de facto kind of thing that everyone looks at. But one of the things that tech companies often cite is this volume of user-generated content. We just can't deal with all of this, all of the ads that are being purchased, all of the posts. What I've been suggesting is that we look at finance regulation as well. There are trillions of dollars that are transacted around the world, and we can track dollars. If we can track dollars, we can track tweets, we can track Facebook posts. So I want to see maybe there's a merging of different regulatory structures that we can look at for this.
Sheryl Sandberg and Zuckerberg both describe this as a breach of trust between them and the users of their platform, of their website. Who else is impacted by this, though? Sure.
I think there's also been a breach of trust with journalism, and maybe we can talk about that. I don't think a lot of people have really been focusing on how important journalism is to American democracy, especially because we have, you know, First Amendment rights here, but we have a free press, and that's a check and a balance on the U.S. government. So I think we need to get more algorithmic transparency into how the news feed works as well. We don't know what's happening there, and I think we also need to start talking about what I've been describing as government news or government media. There's a lot of state-funded media out there that's starting to gain traction on Facebook. And we just, it's getting pushed into our feed, and we don't realize that this is actually coming from the U.S. government. So I would love to open up the discussion on that as well.
One of the interesting discussion points has been that the technology companies, Facebook in particular, are scapegoats for the 2016 election. And you pointed me to an op-ed in the New York Times specifically about this, that in fact it wasn't Facebook that helped elect Donald Trump, although it may have been, it contributed in some factor. It was good old-fashioned media, television media, radio media, robocalls, all the things that have worked going back to, you know, whoever used television first, perhaps it was Eisenhower, right? And I just wonder, are we conveniently scapegoating a technology company just because we don't understand all these algorithms and conveniently forgetting that it was the hours and hours and hours of coverage of Donald Trump and his campaign rallies on cable news specifically that may have given rise to his presidency?
Sure. I think there was a lot of factors that contributed to his election and win. I think that social media is just one component of that as well, but it's a huge component in our lives. And there were a lot of things that we didn't understand. Political advertising wasn't disclosed. There were state actors that weren't being policed on these platforms. So there are a lot of factors that we're still looking at right now to better understand how it influenced the election potentially.
Yeah, and before we go, I just want to make the point. We've been talking about this, which is that, you know, we've gotten a lot of pushback from people on the right who say, well, President Obama used Facebook too. And the distinction between what happened with Cambridge Analytica and what President Obama did is certainly the president and all politicians, not just the people running for the presidency, but people running at all levels of government use Facebook because it's a great tool to capture people and to tell them where your rallies are. The difference, I think, here is that Cambridge Analytica, this application that asks people to take a personality quiz was then handed over to a third party, and that is a violation.
The difference is informed consent. These people had consented to being researched, not to be then sold to an outside company and then used for political advertising.
Great point, John.
I'm wondering how sincere you think Facebook is when you consider the way they've treated the whistleblower in this case, shutting down all of his accounts, when they've threatened to sue The Guardian for publishing this. Do you believe in their sincerity?
I don't think even sincerity is applicable at this point. I want the government to take a look at this and to put some regulations in place and some structure and hold them accountable. We cannot just take their word for it anymore.
Jennifer, always good to have you, and thanks for being here on set. We usually see you as a remote.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.